The Power of Positive Thinking, a practical guide to mastering the problems of everyday living. Written by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. Originally published on the year 1956. This recording is a production of Whisper of the Wind. Copyright 2022. This is the third part of Chapter 1. In the busy activities of daily existence, thought disciplining is required. If you are to re-educate the mind and make of it a power-producing plant, it is possible, even in the midst of your daily work, to drive confident thoughts into consciousness. Let me tell you about the man who did so by the use of a unique method. One icy winter morning, he called for me at a hotel in a Midwestern city to take me about 35 miles to another town to fill a lecture engagement. We got into his car and started off at a rather high rate of speed on the slippery road. He was going a little faster than I thought reasonable, and I reminded him that we had plenty of time and suggested that we take it easy. "Don't let my driving worry you," he replied. "I used to be filled with all kinds of insecurities myself, but I got over them. I was afraid of everything. I feared an automobile trip or an airplane flight, and if any of my family went away, I worried until they returned. I always went around with a feeling that something was going to happen, and it made my life miserable. I was saturated with inferiority and lacked confidence. This state of mind reflected itself in my business, and I wasn't doing very well. But I hit upon a wonderful plan which knocked all these insecurity feelings out of my mind. And now I live with a feeling of confidence, not only in myself, but in life generally." This was the wonderful plan. He pointed to 2 clips fastened on the instrument panel of the car, just below the windshield, and reaching into the glove compartment, took out a pack of small cards. He selected one and slipped it beneath the clip. It read, "If you have faith, nothing shall be impossible unto you." Matthew 17:20. He removed that one, shuffled expertly through the cards with one hand as he drove, selected another and placed it under the clip. This one reads, "If God be for us, who can be against us?" Romans 8:31. "I'm a traveling salesman," he explained, "and I drive around all day calling on my customers. I have discovered that while a man drives, he thinks all kinds of thoughts. If his pattern of thought is negative, he will think many negative thoughts during the day, and that, of course, is bad for him. But that is the way I used to be. I used to drive around all day between calls, drinking fear and defeat thoughts, and incidentally, that is one reason my sales were down. But since I have been using these cards as I drive and committing the words to memory, I have learned to think differently. The old insecurities that used to haunt me are just about all gone, and instead of drinking fear thoughts of defeat and ineffectiveness, I think thoughts of faith and courage. It is really wonderful the way this method has changed me. It has helped in my business too. For how can one expect to make a sale if he drives up to a customer's place of business thinking he is not going to make a sale? This plan used by my friend is a very wise one. By filling his mind with affirmations of the presence, support, and help of God, he had actually changed his thought processes. He put an end to the domination of his long-held sense of insecurity. His potential powers were set free. We build up the feeling of insecurity, or security by how we think. If in our thoughts we constantly fix attention upon sinister expectations of dire events that might happen, the result will be constantly to feel insecure. And what is even more serious is the tendency to create by the power of thought the very condition we fear. This salesman actually created results by vital thoughts of courage and confidence through the process of placing the cards before him into his car. His powers, curiously inhibited by a defeat psychology, now flowed out of a personality in which creative attitudes had been stimulated. Lack of self-confidence apparently is one of the great problems besetting people today. In a university, a survey was made of 600 students in psychology courses. The students were asked to state their most difficult personal problem. 75% listed lack of confidence. It can be safely assumed that the same large proportion is true of the population generally. Everywhere you encounter people who are inwardly afraid, who shrink from life, and who suffer from a deep sense of inadequacy and insecurity, who doubt their own powers. Deep within themselves, they mistrust their ability to meet responsibilities or to grasp opportunities. Always they are beset by the vague and sinister fear that something is not going to be quite right. They do not believe that they have it in them to be what they want to be, and so they try to make themselves content with something less than that of which they are capable. Thousands upon thousands go crawling through life on their hands and knees, defeated and afraid. And in most cases, such frustration of power is unnecessary. The blows of life, the accumulation of difficulties, the multiplication of problems tend to sap energy and leave you spent and discouraged. In such a condition, the true status of your power is often obscured, and a person yields to a discouragement that is not justified by the facts. It is vitally essential to reappraise your personality assets. When done in an attitude of reasonableness, this evaluation will convince you that you are less defeated than you think you are. For example, a man 52 years of age consulted me. He was in great despondency. He revealed utter despair. He said he was all through. He informed me that everything he had built up over his lifetime had been swept away. Everything? I asked. Everything, he repeated. He was through, he reiterated. I have nothing left at all. Everything is gone. There is no hope, and I am too old to start all over again. I have lost all faith. Naturally, I felt sympathetic toward him, but it was evident that his chief trouble was the fact that dark shadows of hopelessness had entered his mind and discolored his outlook, distorting it. Behind this twisted thinking, his true powers had retreated, leaving him without force. So, I said, suppose we take a piece of paper and write down the values you have left. There's no use, he sighed. I haven't a single thing left. I thought I told you that. I said, let's just see anyway. Then asked, is your wife still with you? Why, yes, of course, and she is wonderful. We have been married for 30 years. She would never leave me, no matter how bad things are. All right, let us put that down. Your wife is still with you, and she will never leave you, no matter what happens. How about your children? Got any children? Yes, he replied. I have 3, and they are certainly wonderful. I have been touched by the way they have come to me and said, Dad, we love you, and we'll stand by you. Well then, I said, that is number 2. 3 children who love you and who will stand by you. Got any friends? I asked. Yes, he said. I really have some fine friends. I must admit, they have been pretty decent. They have come around and said they would like to help me. But what can they do? They can't do anything. That is number 3. You have some friends who would like to help you and who hold you in esteem. How about your integrity? Have you done anything wrong? My integrity is all right, he replied. I have always tried to do the right thing, and my conscience is clear. All right, I said. We will put that down as number 4, integrity. How about your health? My health is all right, he answered. I have had very few sick days, and I guess I am in pretty good shape physically. So let's put it down as number 5, good physical health. How about the United States? Do you think it's still doing business and is the land of opportunity? Yes, he said. It is the only country in the world I would want to live in. That is number 6. You live in the United States, land of opportunity, and you are glad to be here. Then I asked, how about your religious faith? Do you believe in God and that God will help you? Yes, he said. I do not think I could have gotten through this at all if I hadn't had some help from God. Now, I said, let's list the assets we have figured out. 1. A wonderful wife, married for 30 years. 2. 3 devoted children who will stand by you. 3. Friends who will help you and who hold you in esteem. 4. Integrity, nothing to be ashamed of. 5. Good physical health. 6. Live in the United States, the greatest country in the world. 7. Have a religious faith. I shoved it across the table at him. Take a look at that. I guess you have quite a total of assets. I thought you told me everything had been swept away. He grinned ashamedly. I guess I didn't think of those things. I never thought of it that way. Perhaps things aren't so bad at that, he said pensively. Maybe I can start all over again, if I can just get some confidence. If I can get the feel of some power within me. Well, he got it, and he did start all over again. But he did so only when he changed his viewpoint, his mental attitude. Faith swept away his doubts, and more than enough power to overcome all his difficulties emerged from within him. This incident illustrates a profound truth, which is expressed in a very important statement made by the famous psychiatrist, Dr. Carl Menninger. He said, attitudes are more important than facts. That is worth repeating until its truth grips you. Any fact facing us, however difficult, even seemingly hopeless, is not so important as our attitude toward that fact. How you think about a fact may defeat you before you ever do anything about it. You may permit a fact to overwhelm you mentally before you start to deal with it actually. On the other hand, a confident and optimistic thought pattern can modify or overcome the fact altogether. End of chapter 1. Third part. Thank you for listening.